It is Sunday. A very good afternoon to you all. Thank you for tuning in. On the back of those headlines, we're going to continue to take a look at all the stories making headlines, of course, in the Sunday newspapers as well. For that, we're going to be joined via video link by Deputy Editor at the Business Day, Tiisetso Motsoeneng. Of course, we're going to take a look at the Sunday World, the Sunday Tribune, and the Sunday Times. On that note, Tiisetso, good morning, or good afternoon rather, and thank you for your time with us here on the SABC at this hour.
No, thank you very much. Good afternoon to you, Liesel. Thank you very much for having me.
I mean, it's safe to say that as we sift through the pages of the Sunday Times, the Sunday World, and the Sunday Tribune, big themes emerging, obviously, in relation to the allegations that had emerged during that press conference last week of Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, the implications and the responses, obviously, with the president set to address the nation a little later on. I mean, if we delve into the headlines on the Sunday Times, it really reads as follows: Night of the Long Thieves. You can see President Cyril Ramaphosa is due to address the nation tonight regarding the security crisis sparked by Lieutenant General. This, of course, in relation to the claims against several top police officers, the police minister as well. Speculation also arrived that High Education Minister Nobuhle Nkabane might also lose her post. That's in relation to a possible cabinet reshuffle there. But I think even if we just look at how what has transpired puts the president in a pivotal decision-making role at this point, and what this means for the consequences not only of his administration, but also the ANC at large. How would you weigh in on this story unfolding?
Well, I mean, yeah, it was explosive, wasn't it? Last week's press conference. I think it caught a lot of people off guard. In which, I mean, within a week, the president puts the president in a difficult position where he has to make a decision one way or the other, or say something. But what you're seeing in the newspapers, Liesel, is that the police minister himself, Gunu, has asked for an independent investigation, some kind of nonsense probe, like a 2 months max. So and then he's also asked to appear before the ANC Integrity Commission. You asked what it means for the country and also for the ANC itself. I mean, I think for the country is that, public trust is fraying. I mean, this is an important security apparatus of the country, and then when you have cop arresting another cop, and then you have all this rot. I mean the Sunday newspapers, they lay their rot out. I mean, I know a lot of that rot is allegation. There's no proof, but you see it. You get a picture of an institution that that you can't trust as a public, that you feel that people are just there for their own self-serving interest. I think for the ANC, it fits into the broader narrative that there hasn't been any accountability, there hasn't been corruption, and all those wrongdoing have been done with impunity. And you feel like a renewal is just a slogan rather than an actual and a tangible plan of action to get their act together. I mean, the evidence of that you've seen in last year's election.
Well, Tiisetso, thank you for that. And I mean, it must also be just reiterated that the minister in the article did come out to say that the allegations are baseless. And, obviously then to your point, requested special leave. That, speculation rife is that it's still under investigation by the president. But some are asking whether it's a little bit too late, given the damages as well. But even if we just look at the implications of special leave at large, right? This sets a precedence, particularly for the security and police, the work that they have to do. And I wonder what precedents that set, what concerns also come, to the fore. We're looking at the protection of whistleblowers like Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi as well, and whether adequate steps have been taken to also safeguard him. Talk to us a little bit more about what's pending on that front, some of the unanswered questions just regards to the verification as well of these allegations that also obviously need to be highlighted?
From where from what we've seen, there are a couple of questions here that needs to be proved. This is why you've got three options. The president has got three options here as to, is it a full judicial commission or is it a cabinet reshuffle? So if he chooses either one of them, has to answer a couple of questions. One is, has there been an obstruction of justice here? The other one is, has the minister abused his authority? To get to the bottom of that, I don't know if a cabinet reshuffle will suffice, but it could provide a fresh start if the minister himself is removed from that particular department, because at the same time, as you say, you could have people making these allegations about sitting ministers, but without any proof, and then you could potentially say, well, look, you're going to have to stand down because of the allegations. But how do you know for sure that is really the case without a proper investigation? Perhaps the easiest thing for the president to do is to say, well, step aside while we investigate these issues. But at the moment, it is so maybe a cabinet reshuffle to give both the benefit of the doubt. It's easy to say because there's the other side, Lisa, right? It's easy to say Mkhwanazi is a whistleblower. He came out with all this with this evidence and allegations last week, but has it been tested? So it hasn't been tested, and then for it to be tested, maybe it's a cabinet reshuffle. You remove Mkhwanazi, you remove Mkhunu from the police department, and then you have a full commission of inquiry into the issues. Then once you get to the bottom, once you get that, then the president can act. Because it's easy, we can sit here and say, well, he has to act, but he has to act with evidence in hand.
No, absolutely. And because there have been increased calls for transparency, given the possibilities of, an inquiry, some are asking whether there is an appetite in South Africa for that, given, the many commissions and omissions that exist in our country. I wonder how you'd weigh in on that point as well, as the president obviously juggles this political conundrum. But just to the right of that main story, you can see the other headline reading, Ngabane's China trip halted as axe hovers, because Tiisetso writes there that the president has ordered Higher Education Minister on Friday to cancel the trip when she was already in the departure lounge. And so speculations, looking at possibilities and probabilities, but, concerns about, to your earlier point, about whether there is going to be a cabinet reshuffle and whether that is the best response at this time. Does it also, advance trust in the leadership and in police at large?
I think, a cabinet reshuffle, for example, will be a start to get into the bottom of the issues that have been raised in last week's meeting. But as we all know, the president is pretty slow to act. You remember with Andrew Whitfield, it took him 5 months?
Yeah.
Something like that. So, but at the same time, sometimes agency may be something that we all want, but you also want to have the facts in front of you before you act. So it may well be something, it's a step, it will be a step for him to, in the right direction, maybe towards leading to a judicial commission of inquiry, which can be seen, as you allude to, that we've seen this commission of inquiries, but we never I think the issue is that we never implement some of the recommendations that are made by these commissions of inquiries, or no action is taken after they have done. But because at the end of the day, the public, you and I, we don't just want to know what happened. We want people to be accountable for what has happened.
Well, Tiisetso, I mean, even if we just turn our attention to the Sunday Tribune there, we also see the headline, again, speaking to what has transpired since the press briefing by the Commissioner. Political meddling threatens SAPS. Dire effect on policing if bosses constantly under investigation are arresting one another, right? So we're obviously looking at the mechanisms that high-ranking officials, can be held accountable to outside of internal processes, but even just the deep-rooted issues of political interference, the protection of elites as well, how far that pattern exists in South Africa. Talk to us a little bit more about the concerns on that front, the message it also sends out at large to society.
I think what worries the public, you and I, is that the factional infighting within the police department and the police ministry, it's not just that. It's really the fact that the fight against crime itself will be compromised, particularly when you have cases like some high-profile people in the upper echelon of power have links with criminal enterprises. So the fight against crime itself, which is a huge issue in the country, and as you've seen, Liesel, that sometimes it can be weaponized by the Americans, for example, the U.S. president, that the higher level of crime in the country has been weaponized into a racial persecution. So there is that how can you fight crime when you are fighting among yourself? I mean, this is not just for the public. As you know, the country is looking to foreign investors to come in, and you would remember the president has been going around the world trying to canvass foreign direct investment in the country to lift the economic growth. But if you have these headlines about crime and about governance in the country, then it will be difficult to convince any investor to come in and put their money in a country where there are clear governance issues. This is one example of them, the infighting within the police, the SAPS, and the political sphere.
Well, it's also about the ANC managing its own reputation. And even if we turn our attention to the Sunday World, I mean, we see the big headline there. Mgunu asks Ramaphosa to probe him. Police Minister pleads with the president to complete investigations on the allegations of political interference within 2 months. And so if we look at the internal mechanisms of the party itself, I mean, you spoke about appeasing and the balances of power and forces within the party itself. The ANC Integrity Commission, is that enough to deal with a problem of the scale or the sensitivity, given the implications? How would you weigh in on that? What are also your expectations ahead of the address by the president? What are some of those questions that remain unanswered for you? What are you also suggesting?
Right. Okay. So like a probe into, I mean, you could say if Mgunu has asked the president to launch an investigation into him, it's a good start. He accepts that as a public official. He cannot run the police department with that cloud hanging over his head. That is laudable. It's something that we should, that I feel that it's a good thing. It's a laudable thing to do. So whether the president would do that or not, we'll hear this evening when he speaks to the nation. So those will be the questions. As I mentioned earlier, Liesel, is that there are a couple of questions that remain unanswered, particularly as they relate to the minister himself. Was there an obstruction of justice here? Did he abuse his authority, his power? If he did, what will the president do about that? But I guess, for him to get answers to those questions, he will have to, I don't know if you can flip an investigation in a week. So I think then he will have to, as I said, do a quick turnaround commission of inquiry, but without Mkhunu at the helm of the police, because that could be seen as undermining the independence of the investigation. So that investigation will then give him answers. But then, as you know, we want agent policing reforms. We want agent answers when it comes to these things. But sometimes a judicial commission of inquiry can be like a 6-week thing.
Okay.
You do it, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, possibilities, probabilities, more questions than answers. The clock is ticking, edging closer to 7 p.m., of course, when the president's set to, address the nation at large on this matter. I know that when you read the Sunday Times and the Sunday World and the Sunday Tribune, we're hopping between the different pages. So I'm going to actually now from the Sunday World go back to the Sunday Tribune, because another important story that has been highlighted, obviously, is the call for reform of medical schemes after racial profile findings. So, Siobhan Boyson starts off by saying apologies are necessary but are not enough. Material redress and structural consequences should be the next steps against medical schemes that racially profile black healthcare professionals. We saw the Section 59 independent panel report. We saw, how racial profiling, systemic discrimination, due to deep racial disparities have emerged. And we're obviously looking at the consequences of this. There's issues of the biases in terms of the racial profiling, in terms of the FWA algorithm, and really now what the recourse is, right? What the accountability measures also look like. Class actions, are they loading? Is there a tribunal that has to happen? Talk to us about what's been unearthed and some of the questions as well emerging on that front in relation to this story.
Right. It was one of those stories that got hidden amid last week's a volley of big stories. You remember Trump came through as well with the tariffs.
Yep.
And then, so this one came out as well. I think we led our newspaper Business Day with it. It was a Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. Here are the issues that came out of that investigation. So black practitioners are sometimes 6 times more likely to be flagged for fraud when it relates to medical scheme claims. That's for a specific. That's as high as it can go. It's a sobering number, to be honest. And then you've got 3 of the South Africa's top medical schemes implicated in this. But the issue is that the other side of this coin is that, not so much the issue, Liesel, the other side of this coin is that the medical scheme industry, they are dismissing this report as flawed, scientifically flawed. They say that using names as a proxy to race won't work. They are saying that the discrepancy is explained by demographics, by demographics prevalence. So then it becomes. Then we have to ask, is it about who's right or who's wrong when it comes to this? Or is it about why do we have to come to this? How did we get here in the first place? Should we not interrogate the algorithms and the systems that are being used? Are they not perpetuating the stereotypes that have been part of South Africa's history for hundreds and hundreds of years? So I think we need to ask a deeper question here rather than to win the argument. Okay. Because no analysis is perfect, to be honest with you. There will be flaws, but we cannot ignore some of the stuff that came out because the analysis is flawed. There is an issue here that needs to be addressed.
Well, we're looking at, the ripple effects of the social constructs and a democratic project 31 years later. And so obviously just looking at the recourse and where to from here. Thank you for joining us at the SABC. I know as we jump to the Sunday World, obviously the former deputy president was laid to rest yesterday, but there was also that story about call to investigate the cat's poison claims. Just, questions about whether posthumous inquiry can happen. Why were these allegations never dealt to? What deeper factionalism issues also come to the fore there? But perhaps we can leave that for another day. Tiisetso Motsoeneng, thank you for your time at the SABC, deputy editor of the Business Day, weighing in on just taking a look at some of those top stories on the newspaper front and serving as conversations for starters for today and as the week progresses.